Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 197, September the 19th, 2017, Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh boy, today is one of those news days like most Mondays. There is so much stuff to cover, I literally cannot even get close to covering the important stories of the day in the typical 30 minutes or so that I do these videos in. So I'm going to have to move quickly, and before I do get started on today's TowerGate news, I want to just mention briefly something here. As you know, on Sunday, for those of you who saw it, I did the video on the deep state, and I did that for a specific reason. It's because, of course, just the general knowledge of knowing, where the formations of the deep state were and who the major players were in the development of the deep state and how we got to where we are today and some of the nasty, nasty things that they've done. And I did this mainly, though, because I wanted everyone to understand exactly what we, and especially President Trump, are facing. I want people to understand that what you see is happening that may be frustrating some of you and me as well. We talk about, like Patty made a comment, she seemed frustrated. I understand it. We don't see the prosecutions. We see the stuff that's going on. It's a bit maddening. It is a bit maddening. It's frustrating and all that sort of thing. You might even be losing some sleep, which you shouldn't be doing. And so I did that mainly just so you understand exactly what the seriousness of the situation is. The deep state is not just some term that we throw out there. It's not just some mythical, sort of, conspiracy theory or just, something to be taken lightly. No, the deep state is real. Just ask President Kennedy. Just ask the victims of 9/11 and many, many other victims of the deep state's evil. So the deep state is real. But the point I want to make on this is that, when you look at what Trump's doing, he is battling the deep state. And we're all doing our part as well. He understands this. And we may not understand every single play that he does as he's going along, why he's doing what he's doing, but we simply have to have some faith and trust in what the man is trying to do. We don't understand on the level that he understands exactly what he is facing. We have a pretty good idea, but believe me, he really understands it. And let's just for a moment reflect back on what this guy has done. He took on the deep state in the primaries. He defeated in unbelievable fashion, blew away the field of what we were told was some of the best Republican field we had seen in decades. And he blew them away, including their star player, Jeb Bush, who spent 30 times what Trump spent. Then he took on the Rotten Reverend, the establishment choice, with everyone backing her, the entire media, the establishment, including members of both parties. Everyone was opposed to Trump. And what did he do? He destroyed Hillary in embarrassing fashion. He won. He won in both cases. Everyone said he couldn't do it, and what did he do? He won. Based on that, we should look at it and say, you know what? This guy's a lot smarter than we're giving him credit for being. Look what he's already done. Now, this is a very tough fight he's in, but I'm telling you guys, do not lose the faith. Stick with him. And if you take a look at what he's doing, what has he done since he ran for president and where he is right now? He has completely upset the establishment. They're going insane. And really, he's turned the tables on them. Look what he's done. He's got both parties in complete disarray. They're in complete disarray because he's played them into a game, into a corner where he understands that he needs to drain the swamp. He knows it's hard to drain the swamp because he can't drain the Congress swamp. Only the voters can do that. Well, it's hard to drain the swamp there because they have the game so rigged. So what has he done? He's essentially put both Republicans and Democrats, turned the tables on them. The pressure is now on them. They have had a policy up until now of both parties combined and the deep state of obstruction. But these parties, they pay big money for real serious research. I'm not talking about the fake polls. I'm talking about real deep research. They pay a lot of money for this, And they know, just like he knows, that obstruction is not a way to win elections. It will cost you elections. They've run this game for quite a while, about 7-8 months now, but they're realizing from all that research that they've been reading, that they've paid a lot of money for, that it's a losing strategy. And Trump knows this. He's got his own research. Believe me. Trump pays for his own private research. You can bet on that. And so now they realize that they have to somehow play ball. He has basically put the onus on them. Look at what position he's put the Democratic Party in. They're in complete disarray. Look at the position that he's put the Republicans who are anti-Trumpers in. Believe me, he's winning this game. It may not always look like it, but he's winning, and that means we're winning. Do not lose the faith. Yes, we're in a death match, and we're going to win. We are going to win. Trump's going to win. Remember, he told you, you'll get tired of winning. It's a tough fight. No one said it was going to be easy. We're taking on the deep state. We're going to win. Don't lose the faith, and don't underestimate the president. Do not underestimate the president. I'm telling you, he's turned the tables on them. He's got both parties in complete, turned them inside out and upside down. They don't know which way is up. They don't know which way to turn. But one thing's for sure, he's put both parties in a position now where they have to actually vote on things. He's put the issues right back at them. He's forced them to take a position, and he knows that that's what voters are really paying attention to. Not all the rhetoric and the politics of it. They're looking at where the rubber meets the road, the actual policies that they pass, and what things they do or don't do. That's what people are really watching, and Trump knows it. It's like he did with DACA. He said, okay, I'm killing DACA, but you in the Congress have 6 months before it takes effect that you can actually, you want DACA, you want a dream bill, okay, you Republicans and Democrats, get together and put together your little Dream Act bill and send it to me. He's done the same thing. He's got Pelosi and Schumer now willing to negotiate on tax cuts, something they would never even dream about before. He's got them in trouble with their own constituents. He's got Republicans who are anti-Trumpers taking a lot of heat from their constituents. He's turned the tables on them. Believe me, he is winning. Don't lose the faith. Let's get to some TowerGate news. Paul Manafort was wiretapped before and after the election. This is being reported by the Clown News Network. The FISA warrants, the first FISA warrants were based on consulting work that he did when he was working for a Ukrainian political party. Based on that, they went and got FISA warrants through the FBI. That would have been James Comey and Loretta Lynch. And then, once he was brought in to assist President Trump during the delegate process, they again fired up the investigation. And he's been under investigation up until just early 2017. Sometime January, February of 2017 is when they actually stopped doing the surveillance. So he's been under surveillance going back to 2015 for a very long time. And it started with his involvement doing consulting work for a Ukrainian political party. That would obviously be Mr. Yanukovych. And the surveillance eventually had to end after the first round of surveillance had ended because they had lack of evidence. More will be coming out, and we are learning that it looks like Mueller is going to file charges or recommend filing charges against Manafort. They are going to go after Manafort. Remember, the plan here is to go after Manafort, lay some heavy charges on him, and then say, okay, we'll drop all these charges if you'll give up Trump. That is the plan. That is the plan. Thank you very much. No consulting fee necessary. Don't send me any checks. That's free. The rotten Reverend Clinton, told NPR's Terry Gross that she may contest the election if the Russian collusion is proven by Special Counsel Mueller. Now, this is on so many levels. Again, I don't have time. I could spend 4 hours on this particular butte. First of all, on the politics of this, everyone in the country has moved on from the election. And the rotten Reverend, her approval ratings are dropping like a rock. you've seen these multiple polls that have been done, even by liberal news outlets have shown you polls, CNN, MSNBC, where if the rotten reverend ran against Trump a week after the election, she would have lost. If she would have ran against Trump 2 weeks ago, she would have lost. There's no way in this world the Reverend Rotten would defeat Trump. There's just no way. No one likes her. 30 to 40% of her own party, the rotten Democratic Party, does not like her. They hate her. They hate her worse than Republicans do. Ask any Bernie Sanders progressive what they think of the rotten reverend. Watch what happens. They might get violent. They might vomit. They might go into convulsions. They will certainly start screaming and yelling. Believe me, I know some Bernie bros. They don't like the rotten reverend. It would be political suicide. The country just wouldn't go for that. And there's not going to be any Russian collusion. It's been debunked. And the thing that drives you nutty about this is that, you know, the VIPs, the Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, as well as 2 other groups that I'm aware of, have sent the evidence to Mr. Mueller. They have sent the evidence to Mr. Rosenstein. They have sent the evidence to Attorney General Sessions. They all know there was no Russia collusion. They all know there was no Trump-Russia collusion. They all know, they've seen the evidence that the Russians did not hack the DNC and forward that information to WikiLeaks. Now, if they really, and even if they didn't believe it, they've got 2 very good sources which they could lock this up right now and figure it out right now. Mr. Mueller, Mr. Sessions, the Republicans in Congress, the Democrats, anyone that you like. I don't care who you choose, which group, doesn't really matter. Barney Fife could figure this one out. Barney Fife could figure this one out. You have 2 sources which would answer the question, which should have been the very first question Mueller answered even before he began this investigation, which is, did the Russians actually hack the DNC and leak the emails to WikiLeaks? Very easy question to solve. The very first thing Mueller should have done was gotten a warrant to look at that DNC server. Look at the DNC server. Look at the log. Look at the log on the email server. Probably were multiple email servers. Look at the master log. There you will find out whether or not the Russians hacked into the DNC computer. Of course, they know they didn't, which is why they will not investigate that computer. It's why they will not look at that email server. It's why they will not look at those logs. Because they know the truth. They also have Julian Assange, who said, I got the evidence. I'll be more than happy to present it to you. Cut a little deal with me. Well, whatever you got to do, you would think that if they really wanted to get to the bottom of it, they would go over there and they would talk to Julian Assange. They absolutely would. He's dying to give up the truth. It would certainly help him, and I certainly hope he does that. We'll see how Mr. Rohrabacher does. How they weave their way through that, I don't know. But I think there's a possibility, I'm saying 50-50, that Mr. Rohrabacher may be able to have some sort of communication directly with Trump, and they may work something out. But this is why, Mr. Sessions, this is why, Mr. Sessions, you heard the Reverend Rotten, that she is willing to challenge contest the election if the Russian collusion is proven true. This is why, Attorney General Sessions, you must shut this thing down. You must get to the bottom of it now. You must prove that the Russian collusion is a fraud. Mr. Rohrabacher's out making the case. You've got the Pitbull, Mr. Gowdy, asking a lot of questions. You've got the Senate Judiciary Committee, even the Democrat, turn in your guns, Mrs. America, Feinstein, is even questioning what is going on here. Attorney General Sessions, he sees lots of crime. There's crime here, there's crime there, there's crime everywhere. He's watching crime everywhere. He's looking for crime. He sees crime. He's observing crime. He's watching crime. He's looking into those crimes. Mr. Sessions, it is not your job to look at crime, to watch crime, to observe crime. That's my job. Your job is to prosecute crime. Perhaps, Mr. Sessions, you should trade jobs with me. You can sit here and do videos and point out crimes and look at crimes and watch crimes and investigate crimes. You do that, and I'll go be the Attorney General and I'll prosecute the frickin' crimes. And I would have this deal here with the Russian collusion. I'd have that one sniffed out in about 30 minutes. Contesting the election. That would be suicidal. I mean, political suicide. Not just for the rotten reverend. I mean, not just for her, but for her party, the party. I don't know if she's a part of that party, but the Democratic Party. That would be very, very bad for them. Trust me, they don't want any part of Hillary challenging contesting the election. This would be, believe me, this would be political suicide, literally. And this is why you got to prosecute this woman and lock her up. She's dangerous. We'll talk about more why she's so dangerous here in a minute. Let's move on. Time is of the essence. True pundit Nancy Pelosi was met with a large room full of very unruly dreamers who showed up to one of her little pressers, one of her little speeches, and they left Nancy Pelosi visibly shaken. She had to be removed from the building by security because they feared for her safety. She was rattled. Apparently, at some point during her speech, the crowd, I don't know exactly which group or groups it was, but it appears that they were largely a lot of these dreamers out in California who showed up in mass, and they started chanting, "Liar, liar, liar." And then Nancy comes back and says, "You don't know what you're talking about." At which point they really went off. They started chanting even louder, getting even more hostile, rushing toward the stage, chanting, "Liar, liar, liar." Finally, she was literally booed off the stage. She was extremely rattled and had to be taken away by security out the back door because they feared for her safety. That's right. Remember, what did I just tell you? What the president has done. He's taken both parties and turned them inside out. He's now made it not the parties and this deep state, the Congress versus him. He's turned tables on them, so it's now them versus their own voters. Do you see the genius of this? Keep watching. That's why I tell you, keep watching. Commie Bernie Sanders says he will not run as a Democrat in 2018. He'll keep running as an independent. And he says that the party model is not working and that they don't listen to independents. Well, they certainly don't listen to communists. It's not a good. It's not a good strategy, Bernie. Generally speaking, the United States of America, with the exception of some folks up in Vermont, maybe a few here and a few there, San Francisco, the inner city of Chicago, maybe New York City, and a few of the boroughs, you have some commies there. But the majority of the country, pretty red. And I don't mean red as in like commie red. I mean red as in like red, white, and blue. Russia conducting large military exercises, and this goes to a point that I was going to talk about a few videos back and never got around to. But, you know, you keep hearing this, the neocons and the neolibs driving up the rhetoric. They want war with North Korea. They want war with Russia. They want war with this guy, war with that. They want war with everyone. A lot of money in war. Ain't no fucking money in peace. Never has been, never will be. No money in peace. That's why you'll never see any of it. Okay, so what is basically happening here is that something they'll never tell you. They'll say, well, Kim Jong-un, what are we going to do? He's crazy. No, he's not. He's unhinged. No, he's not. What might he do? Well, is he going to hit Japan? No. Is he going to hit South Korea? No way. Is he going to bomb Guam? Is he going to put a nuke on an ICBM and blow up San Francisco? No such fucking luck. No, he's playing you. Same way his father and his grandfather did, because he knows you ain't going to do any of that. As long as he doesn't hit anybody, he knows you're not going to hit him. I've already gone into the politics of that. We don't have time now. Go back and review the video if you want to know my thoughts on that. But here's the thing that they never tell you when they're talking about that. They're talking about this, and all this. But what they fail to tell you is that we are conducting major military exercises right out his back door. And Kim Jong-un is in a situation where if you really wanted him to stop doing this stuff, you wouldn't put him in this situation. he is a paranoid dude for sure. But also, he's holding on to his power as well. And when you conduct large military operations constantly all around him, you force his hand. You force him to do something to look strong, to maintain credibility with the military people around him and also with the citizens. Remember, they have a state-run media that does report all this stuff all the time. They know that there are large U.S., Japanese, South Korean, large-scale military exercises going on all around them. And we also have planes in the air, which could be armed with nukes. You see? But they'll never mention these things that we're doing to instigate something, to put the pressure on him. And I'm not saying that these war games are not necessary and that we shouldn't be doing them. I'm not making that argument. I would probably support it. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to have the conversation, at least be honest. Don't sit back and pretend that Kim Jong-un was just launching these missiles around because he's nuts. He's not nuts. We have large-scale military exercises going on his back door, right out his back door. And everyone there in North Korea knows about it. You're forcing him to have to respond so that he doesn't look weak. This is exactly what's going on. Stop lying! Mainstream media, Republicans, Democrats, neocons, neo-libs, Max Boot, and all the rest. Stop lying! Geraldo Rivera is speaking with his good friend, Crying Brian Kilmeade, another neocon, on the radio this morning, and he basically suggested to Crying Brian that the U.S. should conduct a false flag operation, meaning that we should attack. This is exactly what Geraldo said. He said, yeah, what we need to do is we need to attack some vessel. It doesn't matter. Attack any country's vessel. Attack France, the UK, attack some small country, whoever. Attack some small country's little shipping vessel and blame it on North Korea. And that's how we can start the war. It's called a false flag, Geraldo, and you know all about it because you know all about 9/11. Yes, you do. You know about many false flags, don't you, Geraldo? Yes, you do, you corporate scumbag. That's right. Sold his soul to the devil. Geraldo Satan Rivera sold his soul. Now he's trying to sell a false flag to get World War III. Wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. Wonderful suggestion, Geraldo. You fucktwit. Let's see. BuzzFeed has now hired a high-dollar lawyer. Maybe you're familiar with this guy, Roy Black. He's defended a lot of celebrities. He was the guy who defended Bill Clinton's, the guy Epstein. You know, Epstein that had the sex island that Bill and Hillary like to go visit from time to time, where they have an island full of underage girls and boys for the Clintons and their friends to play with when whom is not available. That's right. That's exactly right. That's the man who defended Mr. Epstein. He's now defending BuzzFeed because BuzzFeed knows that Mr. Gubarev has got some pretty damn good attorneys himself. He's a pretty rich man, and he was slandered. No doubt about that. There's no question that he was slandered. The question is who's going to pay Mr. Gubarev. And it looks like it's either going to be BuzzFeed, Christopher Steele, or maybe Senator Magoo. Maybe we'll find out that James Comey will be the guy who will have to pay Mr. Gubarev if they ever get to the bottom of it. And I can assure you, Mr. Gubarev's attorneys are digging and digging and digging. They're applying the pressure. They're not going away. And apparently, he's not looking for a deal. He wants to clear his name. He don't need the money. A lot like Mr. Trump. Doesn't need the money, just wants to clear his name. I'm telling you, we're going to keep watching this civil lawsuit. Mr. Gubarev is not playing around. He values his reputation, and that's what's important to him. He's got plenty of money. Doesn't need the money. Wants his reputation back. Someone's going to pay Mr. Gubarev. I can assure you of that. The Rotten Reverend stated in a recent interview that Trump promised to take jobs away from women. And Trump won because he sold a retrograde message of nostalgia. Let me tell you something. You women know what I'm talking about. I have a mother and 3 sisters. I grew up around a lot of women. I've known a lot of women. Some very fine women. I've learned some things about women. And that is this, and all you women know this. Women have something men don't have. It's this sixth sense. But it seems to only work with other women. Women's sixth sense is confusing when they try to use it to analyze a man or use this on a man, because the wires get crossed. Things don't exactly work out right. It doesn't exactly work. But as far as women reading other women, women can read women. Believe me, men can't read women. Women can't read men. But women can read women. Trump got 53% of the women's vote. Trump got 53% of the women's vote because women can read women. And those women, those 53%, they can read Hillary like a book. The only people who couldn't read Hillary are the people who are too lame, probably don't know how to read anything. Do not know how to read anything. Run, spot, run. Too tough for them. They need a pink pussy hat and a protest. That's what they can understand. Anything beyond that, way out of their intellectual realm. That's Hillary's voter base. That's Hillary's voter base. You saw that Million Women March on them crazy women with the pink pussy hats? That is the Hillary Clinton voter base. That's the Rotten Reverend's base. And as soon as she gets her mail order preacher's license in the mail, she's going to shake those people down for millions and millions of dollars. She'll probably send them a prayer cloth. Yeah, it won't actually be a prayer cloth. It'll probably be a pair of one of her panties. One of her... Well, that's right. It couldn't be that because the Clintons donate their used underwear to charity as tax write-offs. So certainly she wouldn't be able to have any extra underwear laying around. Of course, it's probably poop stained, so no one would want to check it out anyway. But anyway, that's the Rotten Reverend. She don't get it. Women can read her. Women can read women, and they can certainly read the Rotten Reverend. And they know she's no good. Rotten to the freaking core. Absolutely. Absolutely. Washington Post writer Dana Milbank. This guy's a classic beta male. This is the type of guy, you wouldn't even slap him because he's such a beta male. He might cry. It would be embarrassing for you. It's like beating up on a 3-year-old or something. You just wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't do it. I might shoot him, but I would never beat him up. Washington writer Dana Milbank says that Trump is killing him, literally. He says covering Trump is harming his health. He's not been feeling very well lately, so he went to the doctor to see what was wrong, to get a physical, to find out what may be wrong. He's obsessed with Trump hatred, right along with a lot of his friends. And where's it getting them? Nowhere. That's where hatred in your heart will get you. Hatred in your heart will get you nowhere. Fortunately, all that we do is out of love. Obamacare. Premiums to spike 18% as the ACA is continuing to collapse. They're now estimating that at least 2 million more people will lose health coverage. This coming to you from the Free Beacon Economics writers. Now, let me tell you what. 18%? No. That's 18% for the first quarter. 18% for the first quarter. I've looked into this, my friends. I'm telling you that the real Obama increases in this out year of 2018 are going to be more in the high 20, mid to high 20s to even the low 30% increases. This is why Trump understands this. This is why he's thrown the ball back into the court for the politicians, the Democrats who rammed it down our throat, the Republicans who said they wanted to repeal it, and then we found out that they were lying. He's kicked the ball back in their court. It's not on his hands anymore. He's clean. The Democrats and the rotten Republicans own it. They own it. And believe me, they're going to feel the ire of the voters in the spring when the primaries start. About the same time that these Obamacare increases happen, at the same time that millions of people start getting thrown off their health coverage. And who are they going to be blaming? It won't be President Trump. It won't be President Trump. It'll be you, Twitch, and you, Mr. Ryan, Big Ears Ryan, and you, Ms. Piglosi, and you, Mr. Chucky Schumer. You are the people who are going to be under the hot seat. You're the people that the voters will be pointing the guns at, not Mr. Trump. He'll be sitting there with pen in hand, waiting for you people to produce something besides lies, war, and debt, which is all you've ever produced in your entire freaking history. Lies, war, and debt. Lies, war, and debt. Remember that. Never forget that. Always remember this. Lies, war, and debt. That's what the Congress critters working for the deep state produce. Nothing more, nothing less. Lies, war, debt. Trump's trying to put a stop to it. He's turned the tables on them, and now their ass is on the griddle, and he's turning up the heat. Keep watching. The Daily Caller. The Rotten Reverend. We now know from FEC filings that the Rotten Reverend, when she ended her campaign, she moved $800,000 from her campaign to help to sponsor resistance groups, including Antifa. That's right, the Rotten Reverend is now funding a group which the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and the State Department have now named as a domestic terrorist group. The Rotten Reverend is now funding terrorism. Yes, go ahead and contest that election. Go ahead and contest that election. Yes, the Rotten Reverend funding Antifa, and FEC filings do not lie. We can follow the money. We can follow the money. Always follow the money. That's how we got to the bottom of Watergate. Follow the money. New York Times reporter is broadcast that a New York Times reporter broadcast that Trump Jr. has decided to refuse any more Secret Service protection. He's tired of having these goons walk around him. He's got a concealed carry permit. He doesn't need them. So basically, this particular idiot, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times, a real Trump hater and a real jewel, believe me. This is a real wigged out woman here. So Maggie Haberman decides that she'll take something that was not really supposed to be publicly broadcast, but she made a huge deal about the fact that Trump Jr. now no longer has, and this is exactly what her article was saying and suggesting, hey everybody, Trump Jr. no longer has Secret Service protection. Well, to that, Mike Cernovich, some of you are familiar with the incredibly good work that Mr. Cernovich does. Mr. Cernovich got on her Twitter and said, what exactly is it that you're suggesting? Do you know that what you just did is very, very dangerous and that you really shouldn't do something like that? Yes, you just basically sent out the message that he no longer has Secret Service protection. But let me tell you what, any of you fools who might be thinking of something along the lines of the unthinkable. Don Jr. is a pretty skilled hunter, big game hunter. We know he has a concealed carry permit. We know he has some degree of, let's say, fighting skills. And he also has he don't have Secret Service protection. He's got private protection, though. He's got really, really good private protection. Ex-SEALs and things like that. Believe me, he may not have Secret Service protection, but, oh, he's got protection, believe me. And I imagine he can take care of himself. But still, the absolute disgusting Maggie Haberman of the New York Times to broadcast something like that, and the way that she did it, is I don't know what the word is to describe it. You could say deplorable, but it's worse than that. It really is. I mean, that's just. I mean, this is how nasty these people are, my friends. Again, go back to the Deep State video. I wasn't joking. The Deep State's real. It's real. It's absolutely real. Go back and watch the video from Dealey Plaza. Watch Mr. Kennedy's brains splattered all over his wife in the limo. Take a look at all that brain matter right out in front of God and everybody. Do you think that was an accident? No way. They wanted people to see it. They loved that shit. How about 9/11? Most extravagant diabolical plot ever pulled off. They knew exactly what the reaction would be. They got what they wanted. These are some really, really nasty people. Pay close attention. That's why I brought it up. That's who we're fighting. Never ever forget that. The Emmys tank. In fact, it's the lowest ratings the Emmys have ever gotten in modern time. The Emmy ratings for the 4-hour Trump bashing event was a huge dud. And did you know that Sean Spicer, the former anti-Trumper and press secretary, was there? He was up on stage in a nice suit, making a few comments, chucking and jiving, rubbing elbows with the libs. That's right. Not only that, but all the big-time anti-Trumpers were there, and they were all wearing their little blue ribbons. Blue ribbons to show their hate for the president. And one person I saw there just really surprised me was Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton. Boy, I bet she's about to become very unpopular with the old-time country stars who are probably, many of them, Trump supporters, I would think. Investigative reporter Daniel Greenfield in Front Page Magazine has written an article. Boom! He has written an article laying out a compelling case that Susan Rice was spying on Trump for officials of the Muslim Brotherhood. Let me say that again. Investigative reporter Daniel Greenfield, in a recent story in Front Page Magazine, has written an article laying out a compelling case that Susan Rice was spying on Trump for officials of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is an extraordinary story. I had to read it twice. I'm going to post a link for you, and I post links from time to time. I know some of you don't always have time to read them, but I'm telling you, this is one link you want to click on, my friends. You want to read this story. It won't take you that long. You may have to read it twice. It's kind of complicated, but I'm sure you'll enjoy every single word of it. He makes a very compelling case. Maybe Mr. Sessions will read it. You think? You think Mr. Sessions will maybe read that story and maybe do a little investigation of that crime? You think maybe he'll find some crime? Maybe. Sure hope so. Maybe he'll prosecute some fucking crime for a change. I'll post a link for you. Daniel Greenfield, Front Page Magazine. The link will be in the description. Jerry Brown, Governor of California, calls Trump supporters cave dwellers. Mr. Brown, I have an invitation for you. Why don't you come here to Southern Ohio? Why don't you come here and call us cave dwellers to our face? John Kerry, claiming that climate change is a bigger risk than North Korea. Climate change is a bigger risk than North Korea. That's so funny, I'm not even going to comment on it. It can stand on its own. Mad Maxine Waters, just saw a nice photo today, has a massive border wall around her mansion. I think she's going to be defeated in her primary. Now, she is not the only one that has a massive border wall around her mansion. The Clintons also have a massive border wall around their mansion, as do the Obamas. They all have nice border walls around their mansions, and I promise you they lock the doors at night, and they have armed security, as well as Secret Service. Kellogg's, I told you about 2 or 3 weeks ago that Kellogg's had to close down 2 plants and lay off a bunch of employees because they've done everything but put Al-Qaeda on the cover of a Wheaties box. That probably is coming. They'll have Antifa on the front of a Wheaties box here soon, or Black Lives Matter, because we find out that Kellogg's has been funding Soros, helping with some of his organizations, including La Raza and Black Lives Matter. Do not buy any Kellogg's cereal. Buy something else or give it up. Eat an apple. The majority of Americans want McConnell and Ryan out. No shit, Sherlock. No shit, Sherlock Ray. Yes, we know most Americans want McConnell and Ryan out. Unfortunately, the president has turned the tables on them. He has forced them now to take some positions and some votes that they have never wanted to take. But they're going to be challenged in the primaries. They're going to be forced to either shit or get off the pot. That's what's going to happen to these individuals, because they're now playing with someone who has a slightly higher IQ than the folks they're used to dealing with. They are now in a very, very different situation. So I'm going to provide this link to you on the story from Mr. Greenfield on Front Page Magazine. It's a must-read. But I'm also going to provide a link I forgot to provide, which is, I was telling you about a video. The name of this video is called Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. It's a very good look, again, at the deep state. Kind of goes very well with the video that I did on Sunday of the deep state. Now, this video is a documentary, is about 3.5 hours long. Now, the way I watched that video was in chunks because it's too much information to sit through in one sitting unless you're really, really stoned. And then you can't comprehend anything. So I recommend that you not be stoned when you watch it. You might even want to take some notes. That's what I did. And anyway, it's a very good video. And you know what you can do is like maybe watch like a half hour of it. That's what I did. I watched like a half an hour, then the next night another half an hour, the next night another half an hour, the next night another half an hour, and it took about a week. I got through the entire 3.5 hours. Absolutely fantastic video. Covers many, many, many topics. Really goes into the deep state and things like that. And you know, just very well done documentary. And so I'm going to put a link to Everything is a Rich Man's Trick along with this Mr. Greenfield article. I recommend that when you get a chance, you take a look at Everything is a Rich Man's Trick and certainly read this article. I appreciate you all for tuning in to TowerGate. Sorry I didn't get to so many other items that were on the list, but I'm out of time. But thank you for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow night with more TowerGate. Thank you. See you guys. Bye.